You're listening to the Serbian radio program Monday's Encounter on CKCU. Our guest tonight is Mr. Gregory Freeman. He's the author of the book The Forgotten 500. Gregory Freeman is an award-winning writer with more than 20 years' experience in journalism and historical nonfiction. His latest book is The Forgotten 500, the untold story of the man who risked all for the greatest rescue mission of World War II. Like his other books, The Forgotten 500 reads like a fast-paced novel, but tells a fascinating true story, this time the amazing rescue by General Draža Mihailović's Chetniks of airmen trapped behind enemy lines in Nazi-occupied Europe. The Forgotten 500 is one of the greatest rescue and escape stories ever, but hardly anyone has heard about it. And that's by design. The US, British and Yugoslav governments hid details of this story for decades, purposefully denying credit to the heroic rescuers and the foreign ally who gave his life to help Allied airmen as they were hunted down by Nazis in the hills of Yugoslavia. With us online is the author Gregory Freeman, and we are going to talk about his book, The Forgotten 500. Good evening, Mr. Freeman. This is Boba.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You have just published your new book that carries the title, The Forgotten 500. Please tell our listeners, what is the story about?
Well, this is a story that is probably more familiar to anyone of Serbian descent than to most Americans, but it's a fantastic tale from World War II concerning General Draža Mihailović and the effort to rescue more than 500 Allied airmen who had become trapped behind enemy lines in the former Yugoslavia.
How did you come across this historic material?
Well, I write history, and I'm a bit of a history buff, and so I had just sort of stumbled across the story accidentally several years ago, and more recently started trying to contact some of the survivors. And once I started talking to some of the people who had actually been through this experience, I found that it was just an incredible story that really needed to be told.
The Forgotten 500 is your third book. The previous two, Sailors to the End and Lay This Body Down, are also based on a historical event. What motivates you to write novels on historical facts?
Well, it's a cliche almost, but I think it is true that truth is usually stranger than fiction, and to me it's just more interesting, especially when you can hear the story from people who actually participated. To me, there is nothing more rewarding than sitting down with someone who can tell me an incredible tale about what they did 50 years ago.
The story of your book, The Forgotten 500, is little known to the American public, as you have mentioned, but known to some of Serbs. How did you come across this historical material? Have you done some research, and did you speak to some people? Please tell us more about that.
Yes, I did extensive research. I interviewed all of the survivors that I could find, which included the American airmen who had been rescued, some of the rescuers themselves, and then also obtained a great deal of information about Mihailović and the Serbian community through organizations like the Serbian Unity Congress, and a number of books that were published only in Serbian and had been translated, and archives of the former Yugoslavia provided a great deal of this background material.
Mr. Freeman, July 17, 2007 marked the 61st anniversary since the death of General Draža Mihailović. What is your opinion on General Mihailović, given your extensive research and talks to different people?
General Mihailovich was a hero to his own people, and he was a hero to the American people. Unfortunately, most Americans to this date don't know that, because there was a long period after the war, during the war certainly, and after the war, in which the truth about General Mihailovich was purposefully hidden from the American public. There were a lot of political reasons, none of them that seem to make much sense in hindsight, and the result was that this great act by General Mihailovich was hidden from the people who most need to express their gratitude.
Yes, General Dražen Mihailovich was even decorated by the American president at that time for his bravery.
Yeah.
He was actually issued the Legion of Merit, which is the highest award that this country can give to a foreign national. But the irony of it was we gave him the award and then kept it secret from even his survivors. Please,
tell us something about Operation Halyard.
Yes, Operation Halyard was the name for the actual rescue mission. And the situation was that American airmen had been flying over this territory, the former Yugoslavia, to bomb sites in Europe. And on the way back, many of their airplanes crashed in that area. And when they were on the ground, they were in Nazi territory at that point, but they were also in the territory controlled by General Mihailovich. And General Mihailovich was an ally of the United States, and so he protected these downed airmen until they could be rescued. And eventually, the OSF, which was the organization that later became the CIA in the United States, organized a very complicated, very secret rescue mission that involved flying large cargo planes directly into that territory in the middle of the night to land and pick up these airmen.
Mm-hmm. They flew from Italy, as I recall.
Yes, they flew from Italy, and one of the complications was that the area in which they were being held with General Mihailovich, Ravnogora, there was no suitable landing area for the planes, and so the airmen and the local villagers had to actually construct their own landing strip using pretty much nothing but their bare hands and a few farm implements.
What a fascinating story. I hope one day we'll see a movie based on the story.
We certainly hope so. There's already some talk about it.
Oh, great. Where can we purchase your book?
The book is available for pre-order right now on Amazon.com, also through most any other site or bookstore in which you can order books. The name is The Forgotten 500, and it's actually going to be released on August 28th.
Now that The Forgotten 500 is about to be released, what is that you're working on next?
I have a few more things lined up. I'm most interested at this point in a story about an aircraft carrier that suffered a partial mutiny in the 1970s.
Okay.
So that's another little known but fascinating story.
Well, keep up with the good work, and all the best with your new book, The Forgotten 500.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
It was Gregory Freeman on his new book, The Forgotten 500. More on the author and his work if you go to his website www.sailorstotheend.com.